According to the butterfly effect, the fate of humanity can be changed with a single choice. In other words, it's a ridiculously messed up phenomenon, at least for our protagonist. That's because, so far, he's made several life decisions he regrets. Someone on the other side of the door calls out for love and asks if he's listening. The person says they came all the way there because they know he's inside, so he better open the door. They've already talked to Ophelia from the House of Masters and know the boy doesn't have any classes today. The person keeps insisting, while the protagonist mutters that there's no worse stalker than this one. Suddenly, the person says, "All right then," and stabs the door, announcing they're going to break in. The boy is obviously terrified of this crazy woman. She starts slicing up the door while he protests that this is against the rules. The student council president should be the one punishing people for this kind of thing. However, she just smashes through the door and says that, unfortunately, she's the president. As she steps inside, she asks why he always keeps exactly 32 meters away from her. Our boy is horrified that this lunatic is actually measuring the distance. Now we get a better look at her. She's got a little hat, bright red lips, and silver hair. This girl reminds me of S-Death from Akame ga Kill. With charm, confidence, and a bit of mischief, she asks him when he's finally going to marry her. But suddenly, another voice in the room questions what the princess is talking about. A girl with a cat-shaped pocket watch on the windowsill wants to know if this is really how her family works. The protagonist recognizes the cat girl as Sarah's. Eleanor scoffs, saying that this place is far too bright for an assassin to appear. She didn't want any witnesses seeing what she and he were about to do, so Sarah should just leave. However, Sarah's, sticking out her tongue, retorts that killing witnesses is exactly her job as a princess. Our poor protagonist just stands there, saying he feels incredibly uncomfortable with this whole situation. He never even considered marriage, so what are they even talking about? Then suddenly, the ceiling explodes, another badass has arrived, folks. The two girls glare at the newcomer while our boy wonders why Lilu is here now too. This girl's got swag. She even has a tribal tattoo on her thigh. She tells our boy that it's time for him to start living with her. All the preparations for the wedding have been made, so he just needs to hurry up and go. But before anything else happens, another girl with black hair gets a chain thrown at her Kurapika style, while she's in the middle of asking Dodd why he's always surrounded by a bunch of snobs. Man, this cast is stacked. And now, a mischievous little witch appears, wondering why there are so many jealous women here. Dodd Campbell has belonged to her for a long time. Her name is Fainal. Now they're all staring each other down. One says this has turned into a competition, the other calls her delusional. Obviously, these women all want to kill each other. And just like that, the battle begins with our poor boy standing in the middle, completely lost. The real question, though, is how did things get to this point? Our protagonist seems to start remembering everything that's happened. From the moment Elmore proposed to him, that's when he starts talking about the survival game that got him into this mess. The game is called Savior in Ascension, or just SA for short. Anyone looking at the game for the first time would think it's some nerd trash. But our protagonist had already beaten the game and seen the ending. He thought it was perfect, fun, and totally worth it. But then, he got transported into the game the next day. This confuses him because he has no interest in changing the story. He doesn't hate the developer, and he isn't that attached to the protagonist for something like this to happen. Either way, he now inhabits the body of Dodd Campbell, someone who has absolutely no power. He's the heir of some random viscount from a desolate third-world town. The Campbell territory is all about farming. There aren't even dungeons in the entire place. On top of that, they were barely even mentioned in the original story. And that's exactly why the son of this viscount, upon entering the Imperial Academy, turned that world upside down. Our boy waves goodbye to his father, saying that he's heading out now. The father, emotional, tells him that he truly is the pride of their land. He warns him not to cause any trouble and to be careful because Elfinti Academy is where most of the nobles gather. All he wants is for his son to keep a low profile. The boy nods, saying he understands. At this moment, Dodd Campbell has F rankings in all his stats. No skills, no mastery, no special talents whatsoever. Even as a veteran player who has read countless stories, he is genuinely horrified to see that this character has absolutely nothing. The main quest at this point is to enter the academy and get assigned to a class, and he knows very well that, according to the game's system, if you ignore the quests, you die. On top of that, Elfinti Academy will soon fall into complete chaos due to civilian uprisings. But our boy has no intention of doing anything that puts his survival at risk. He assures his father that he'll do his best not to draw any attention. He won't even dream for a second about trying to improve the reputation of their town. His father is a bit taken aback. Was that really necessary? Our boy adds that his grades will also stay below average just to make absolutely sure no one notices him. His father sighs and tells him he should just get going. And man, in the next scene, we see Elnor entering the school like a walking disaster waiting to happen. On the train ride there, he keeps thinking, even as a protagonist, avoiding attention is all I want to do. He's been lonely his whole life, and that's exactly how he plans to be at the academy too. The problem now is he wants to know why, right from the start, he's in the same carriage as her. And not just anyone. Her nickname isn't exactly friendly. Elnor the Bloodthirsty, a woman who, at this young age, had already built a mountain of corpses beneath her. The truth is, she's the final boss of this world. As the game progresses, she and the protagonist keep fighting as her sanity crumbles. That's when the dormant existence of the gray demon devours her body. Man, whether she's demonized or just healthy, she's still terrifying. While he's lost in thought, she suddenly asks if he needs a doctor. His face looks pretty pale. A bit out of it, he mutters that he's fine like this. She apologizes for intruding and explains that her kingdom wants to show their friendly people. That's why they placed her in his carriage, to show that they mix with others. As she talks, he's a bit stunned. She's very different from how he remembers her in the story. In the game, she was described as extremely meritocratic, perfectionist, and audacious. So why does she seem a little soft right now? Eleanor asks why he isn't responding. Is he curious about something? Still a bit stiff. He says it's nothing. He's just impressed by how kind she is. She stands up immediately. Who's been talking badly about me? Ah, shit. He shouldn't have said that. Trying to fix his mistake, he says he heard she was a bit strict. Eleanor gives him a look. You're kind of weird. He just sighs. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Once again, he reminds himself that he needs to act like an extra and not get involved with this person. The plan now is simple. Just stare at the trees outside until they reach the academy and never speak to her again. But right then, a rock comes flying toward the window. It's about to hit him straight in the head. At that moment, he lunges toward Eleanor, and the train explodes in the middle. The necklace Eleanor wears has a recognition-based protection spell, something our protagonist knows very well. The best option for survival? A nice warm hug. Sorry about this, he thinks, but I wasn't going to survive this with F-rank stats. Sometime later, Eleanor asks if he's okay. He says yes, while lying on something very soft. When he opens his eyes, she's looking at him like she doesn't really care all that much. The idiot scrambles up, about to apologize, but Eleanor obviously assumes he was trying to save her. She says she's never seen a man as genuinely honest as him. She thanks him for his intentions, so there's no need to apologize. Our boy is beyond flustered, because honestly, he only jumped on her to use her armor's protection. But now she's completely misunderstood. She stands up and asks for his name, and now he knows he's screwed. If he tells her, then every time they meet, they'll end up interacting. Avoiding her would be impossible. But at the same time, there's no way he can trick a woman this sharp. So he just sighs and says it. Dodd Campbell, the idiot. That damn woman smiles. I won't ever forget it. I'll repay this favor someday. With that, he's officially gained the interest of a civil, and the conditions for his special event have now been activated. He receives 2 gifts, Desperate Survivor and Deadly Charm. Sometime later, a few carriages approach the explosion site, trying to figure out why a train heading to Elfink was destroyed. At least the medics arrived quickly, so casualties were minimized. Those who received treatment were already being transported directly to the academy. A while later, on his way there, our boy notices his little gift. Turns out he had the fated attraction, or rather the deadly attraction, which of course keeps getting translated differently. But basically, he needed to make evil people interested in him. When that happened, he would receive new rewards. Now it all makes sense. Since arriving, there was no way to figure out what his special talent was. Everyone in Campbell Town was friendly, so there was no way for it to activate. Ah, now I get it. This was his natural talent. By gaining Eleanor's interest, he was granted Desperate Survivor. Basically, the closer he is to dying, the more his attributes increase. On top of that, Deadly Charm makes it easier for dangerous people to take an interest in him. And the more intense the situation, the stronger the effect. Desperate Survivor seems like a perfect ability for staying alive in battle. On the other hand, Deadly Charm doesn't seem very healthy to have. He knows exactly who the most dangerous people in this place are and who's likely to get interested in him because of it. A knight who lives for a fight. A sword goddess who cuts down anyone within 3 steps of her. A violent assassin who kills anyone as long as the price is paid. And a genius mage who blows up anything without a second thought. Every single one of these monsters is an absolute nightmare to deal with. But he reminds himself, the most important thing is gaining abilities to survive. The weird thing though is that his talent comes with question marks where the rank should be, which means it's either amazing or complete garbage. A doctor nearby notices the boy mumbling to himself and asks if he's okay. And right then, they arrive at the academy. He enters the hall where they give those typical welcome speeches for new students, wishing everyone a good year. But his mind is stuck on the conversation he just had with the guy from the carriage. The guy asked if he really was on the same train as Princess Eleanor. As soon as our boy said yes, the man warned him. He too came from an unknown family, and he needed to understand that it wasn't a coincidence that the rock had struck exactly where they were sitting. Eleanor's family has countless enemies, and if he stays too close to her, he'll end up becoming a target for the other nobles as well. Our boy just nods, saying he'll keep that in mind. But he already knows the system has already told him another event will involve her. And since he dies if he doesn't follow the system's instructions, there's not much he can do. Besides, slander is normal in this academy. It's no wonder this woman ended up as the final boss. Right then, 3 guys show up and ask what the hell this hick is thinking about. A country bumpkin like him must be completely lost in a place this big. While he's lost in thought, everyone else has already formed pairs from the first test. Now the idiot has no choice but to train with whoever's left. And he knows whoever got left behind must be insanely strong. And damn, she is strong. Unfortunately, either way, the poor guy is about to get his ass handed to him. Her name is Elia Crixenax. She's the greatest genius in this world. With a bright smile, she asks if he needs a helping hand. Still a bit dazed, he says yeah, sure. But deep down, he knows. This damn woman is destined to become the savior of the world. The truth is, she's the protagonist of SR. She stands there looking all stunning, holding out her hand to help the boy up. And these chapter opening images are just gorgeous. Thank you, artist. Meanwhile, in another room, someone mentions that Count Crichton and Galanter have also arrived. A girl with glasses wonders if that one has lost her mind. The duels are already underway, so how does she have the guts to be late? And that's when the beast walks in, bloody and magnificent. The girl with glasses wants to ask a million things. But first, where the hell were you? Eleanor simply responds that she had some things to take care of. The woman with glasses tells everyone else to leave. She needs to have a private conversation with her. A little while later, she asks how many people died. Eleanor casually says, not too many, just about 12. They were people trying to kill her, and they had the audacity to attack again even after the train accident. The woman sighs, saying that she should have just let the school handle it. But Eleanor finds that incredibly boring. She wasn't about to do something as tedious as letting other people kill those who tried to kill her. The director tells her to go get ready and head to the duel. If she hurries, she'll get the chance to see Elia Crixinax fight some Dodd Campbell, who she has never even heard of. Eleanor finds that odd. After all, that boy didn't seem like someone who would stand out. But with her plump lips, she smirks, thinking, he's a little different, isn't he? Meanwhile, our boy is trembling in the middle of the arena with the whole crowd calling him a country bumpkin. He knows his stats are absolute garbage. If he takes one hit, he's dead. In theory, though, he should have a small advantage. He has that life-threatening talent now. The more danger he's in, the higher his stats should be. He's also aware that there must be a ton of villains watching him right now. So if he at least doesn't die, he might manage to catch some interest. Maybe, if he plays his cards right, this situation could actually be beneficial. But then, Elia, with a strange look on her face, calls his name. She tells him to be honest. She already knows he looks incredibly weak. He stumbles over his words, but she just nods. Now I'm sure. She was planning to beat the crap out of him, but now she's starting to pity him. The boy is left speechless. Why the hell is he getting his ass kicked for no reason now? Elia explains. It's because she knows he was with Eleanor, and she hates that woman. Not just her. She hates the entire Tristan house. They're a bunch of demons. Our boy realizes. Damn, this Elia is really bold to say something like that in front of everyone. But he understands where her hatred comes from. It's all tied to the drama and the story involving her family. He tries to explain that he just got unlucky and happened to end up in the same place as Eleanor. But Elia says she doesn't care, because just looking at him reminds her of that woman and it's pissing her off. She then makes a tempting offer. She asks if he's interested in pretending to fight. The protagonist knows this would be a great option. The problem is, if he pretends to fight, you won't improve his abilities at all. You won't figure out what his talents actually do. The only way he can get noticed is by surviving against her at full force. So that's exactly what he asks her to do. And to really piss her off, he adds, actually, I really like Eleanor. Elia immediately tenses up, gripping her sword, not sure if he's being serious. And since making her really fight is his only option, he doubles down. I'm serious. I like her, just as much as you hate her. At that moment, Deadly Charm activates. Now, every villain watching him is even more interested, and it looks like he just got a new little gift. Elia clenches her teeth. If that's the case, I won't feel bad about what I'm about to do. In an instant, she's right in front of him. On the first strike, his wooden sword is completely destroyed. She smirks. Well, at least you dodged it. Guess you're not completely useless. She steps forward, preparing to thrust her sword. Now I'll take things a little more seriously. In that life or death moment, Desperate Survivor activates. His strength skyrockets to X rank, and he punches her in the face. And then, he remembers. X rank was the highest rank in the game, and Elia goes flying, straight into the wall. The arena wall explodes, and everyone, including him, stares in shock. Eleanor is standing right there, watching the whole thing. And despite all of his stats being F rank, on his first day, Dodd Campbell just obliterated the protagonist of the world. Man, I really hope that girl isn't dead, because her face is smashed into the pavement. A while later, in a meeting, someone mentions, there's a high chance that kid is a fraud. What he did doesn't make sense. Everyone knows he has low stats. His abilities were checked before the duel, but that attack was definitely real. The one in the glasses asks what he means by that. The scared man responds, no one in all of Elephant could take a punch like that and walk away unscathed. He thinks the boy must have used some kind of illegal substance or a forbidden method to take down Elia. Of course, there's also another possibility, but it's a weird one. Maybe he's actually some kind of monstrous genius capable of hiding his true power. The girl with the monocle adds, even so, it's going to be really hard to accept this victory. After all, Margrave Kendred, the man who sponsors Elia, isn't just going to sit back and accept something like this. Losing Elia and their top patron would be a major disaster for the Academy, so they need to expose the boy as a fraud as soon as possible and see how things unfold. The man in green doesn't quite understand what she expects them to do. He explains, every year, tons of interesting new students get admitted. Since this guy is drawing so much attention, he'll soon be forced to act again. And when that happens, they'll know for sure whether he's a fraud or not. Meanwhile, his face is already plastered all over the newspapers. Everyone is asking, who the hell is Dodd Campbell? Our boy is in disbelief that this happened on his first day. He never imagined that damn talent would make this much of a difference. And then, a new profile pops up in his gift list. Obviously, our dear Elnor Eleanorized Latristan. Her trust level just went up to level 2, which means he can collect another little gift. Besides that, while he's sitting in his chair, he notices something. The curiosity of several characters just keeps rising. He realizes there's a pattern. It starts with curiosity, then moves to interest, then finally trust. And these points can be used in the shop. What he doesn't understand is, why is the final boss, who shouldn't care about him, the most interested of all? Then, he receives a technique from the Tristan family's fencing style. The only problem is, that family is deeply involved with demons. But for him, who just wants to survive, it doesn't matter at all. What really confuses him, though, is Elia Crixenax. She's not an evil person, so why does he have a profile card for her too? Her curiosity level is already at level 4, but he still can't claim any rewards. He knows she's not a villain, not a bad person, and she doesn't even care about him. So why is her card even there? Right at that moment, someone knocks on his door. Is this Dodd Campbell's room? He recognizes that familiar voice. Outside, the person announces, "It's Elia, let me in." Instantly, the boy starts shaking. His plan? Stay completely silent. Hold his breath. Maybe she'll go away. But man, poor girl is standing outside with a neck brace and a face covered in bandages. She suffered. She sighs. "I know you're in there. If you don't answer, I'm breaking the door in a few seconds." He panics and yells, "Are you insane?" Now that she knows he's there, she tells him to open up because she has something to say. He hesitates. What the hell does she even want? And then, completely healed and grinning, she says, "Maybe we should get to know each other a little better." This is the first time the protagonist has hit a girl so hard that she falls for him. Welcome to the red pill world, I guess. Sometime later, she's storming out of his room, pissed. You should have just accepted it. You're way too uptight. Looks like she tried to be friendly, but the maid dragged her out. While she's brooding, wondering how the hell to befriend a guy, someone walks past her, and at that moment, a bag falls to the ground. She kneels to pick it up, and the other person tells her, "You should really watch where you're going." Damn, it's Elnor. Dripping with swag, she glances at her. "Are you hurt?" The moment Elia sees her face, a memory flashes in her mind. A voice. "Brother, run." In front of a burning wasteland, a man stands with a sword, and Elia trembles, not out of fear, out of rage. Her instincts make her grab her sword without even thinking. The problem is, she's not sure she can kill Elnor at her current level. But Elnor just stands there, beautiful, unbothered, holding out her giant hand. Get up already. Elia finds it strange. She's certain Elnor saw her reaching for her sword, so why isn't she reacting? And then, Elia mutters, "Give it back." Ah, now I get it. The bag actually belonged to Elnor. And now, she's just returning it. But at the same time, she wants to know, are you really involved with Dodd? Then, Elnor gives her some very specific directions. Just go to the end of the hallway, turn left, and you'll find Dodd's room. Immediately, Elnor squints. How do you know where Dodd's room is? Elia, looking awkward as hell, says, "I was just with him." Oh boy, this is about to be a mess. Elnor asks, "And what exactly was your reason for being with him?" Elia, looking super uncomfortable, says, "It's just freshman stuff, you know? Getting to know each other." But Elnor just smiles and reminds her, new students aren't allowed to interact with the opposite sex. Elia is about to say that she's never heard of that rule, when Elnor casually informs her, "I just made it up." So from now on, she better understand that she's no longer allowed to enter that room. Elia doesn't seem to care much. She only wants to know what their relationship is. But Elnor simply turns around and says, "I have nothing to do with that guy." She just needs to learn not to go to his room anymore. But Elia remembers something. The moment when he said, "I like Elnor just as much as you hate her." She knows something's going on between those two. And even if it's just to gather information, she'll have to keep getting closer to him. Now, our boy is heading to the class assignment exam. It's an extremely meticulous and important test in this academy. Students are divided into groups after their one-on-one duels. And since he defeated Elia, he ended up in the strongest group. Everyone there looks proud and confident, while he just stands there, absolutely horrified. And the biggest problem is this girl who won't leave his side. He's been trying to shake her off since yesterday, but now she's in the same group as him, which only makes things worse. Not to mention, her interest in him keeps rising, which is honestly just terrifying. He suddenly remembers. Someone left a bunch of little bread rolls in front of his room, wishing him good luck on the exam. He has no idea if it was her or some other lunatic, but either way, things are not looking good for our guy. At the very least, this exam is part of the story, so things shouldn't go too off script. But his system notification for Elnor says that an event is about to occur. Elnor, as healthy as ever, appears announcing that she will be in charge of supervising them during the exam. Our boy already knows. If she's the one in charge, there's no way something isn't going to happen. The teachers are all gathered, eager to see how the boy who defeated the hero will perform. Elnor tells everyone to hurry up. She'll be leading them to the exam area. Some of the staff are impressed, commenting that the students are working extra hard this year. The students walk through a dimly lit corridor. Ilya immediately asks, "Is this part of the test?" But our boy, he knows exactly what this is. The entrance has been sealed. The power has been cut off. And right then, Eleanor's event activates. And Dodd knows. This isn't a test. It's an ambush. His system notification confirms it. Another assassination attempt is incoming. He quietly observes, while the other students chat casually, assuming that someone will come to rescue them soon. But Dodd starts analyzing. Every single person in this corridor is part of the main protagonist group. This is the event that makes them grow closer and follow the story together. Everyone here is important to the final plot. He steps forward and points to a map. "I think it's best if we head to the central hall. It has more space so we can observe the area better. At the very least, that place has equipment, some supplies. And if they get ambushed, it's better than being trapped in this narrow hallway." A girl in nun-like robes raises an eyebrow. "Why are you suddenly talking about an ambush?" But our boy just shrugs. The student council president and Ilya must have already noticed. "We're not alone here." He starts walking. Ilya stops him. "Where are you going?" He simply says, "It's necessary." But she frowns. The direction you're heading in is completely opposite from the central hall. Our boy, full of hesitation, knows he can't reveal the truth, but this is extremely important, and he'll explain later. His plan: send everyone to the central hall and stay behind alone so he doesn't get targeted, because the real target is that crazy woman. As long as they can handle it and he stays alive, everything will be just fine. Now they've moved through the corridors, and he's relieved. The plan worked. Apparently, punching Ilya into a wall gave him a little credibility. Now, all he has to do is wait for the event to end, let them deal with it, and stay completely out of it. However, that's exactly when someone calls out to him. A man says he's here to fix the power outage and asks to be guided. Unfortunately, his vision isn't very good in the dark. Right away, the system notifies him that a dangerous situation has been detected. Meanwhile, in another area, Frisia asks if Dodd will really be fine alone. Maybe something bad could happen. What they aren't noticing is that there are a bunch of assassins right above them. Ilya comments that he probably has a plan, but they should still be careful themselves. Obviously, our dear Eleanor has already realized that something is very wrong. Our boy is walking around with that weird guy with his legs slightly spread. The weirdo is thinking that he's sure that group must have been killed by the evil woman. Even that idiot, who seemed to have potential, was easily deceived. A professional assassin like him can gauge a person's level just by observing their movements. And he knows that our boy is a complete amateur. He's going to have some fun before killing him and then eliminating this Tristan. At that moment, the guy calls out to our boy, who glances back. Then he compliments him, saying he did a great job and that it was time to be rewarded. Our boy looks at him and thanks him, saying that at least he's Hamid. The guy is extremely shocked to see that the bastard knows his name. And the protagonist just says he's relieved because if it had been someone stronger, he'd actually be in danger. Phew, he's really relieved to know that the guy is this weak, but he had already figured it out by the way he walks so weirdly. The assassin is confused, not understanding what this lunatic is talking about. But our boy is just thinking that with a desperate survivor, things won't be that difficult. Hamid decides to attack as quickly as possible and finish things before they get complicated. Our boy was preparing himself, while in the other rooms, guys were being slammed against the walls, getting hit by a rain of arrows. Another one was flying and everyone was getting beaten up. No wonder these guys are the protagonist group. Ilya orders Palkas to freeze these guys while she wonders where Eleanor is. Meanwhile, Eleanor is looking stunning, slashing her blade and sending 4 fools flying into the wall. The poor guys don't stand a chance and spit out everything they had in their stomachs. She immediately grabs the first one and demands to know who sent them. At the same time, the mage is freezing the rest. That's when they find out that someone called Hamid from the Crescent Moon is behind this. Eleanor wants to know if he's here as well, but the guy refuses to reveal it. She steps on him. Now, I know some people like the idea of being stepped on by a woman, but I think this one actually hurt for real. Damn, his head is almost cracking, and she warns him that he better talk. The guy finally confesses, saying yes, he came with them, but is in another area. Ilya comments that she's going too far, but Eleanor says that anyone who tries to kill her will suffer the same fate. Hamid is a specialized assassin, and right now, there's only one person who's an easy target for him. At that moment, Ilya and the others realize that Dodd went off alone to lure the strongest enemy to himself. Ilya wants to know what the relationship between them is, but Eleanor insists once again that there is none. The truth is, she doesn't know him well enough. So she wants to get to know him better? You sly one. Meanwhile, the assassin is talking to himself, saying that he's a professional. He had set up a perfect barrier, so why was this happening? Obviously, he was getting beaten up by our boy, who had activated his little life-on-the-line talent. Not to mention, he also has the sword technique he received from Eleanor, so the boy isn't useless anymore. Our boy is impressed with his own skill, and the assassin is realizing that he's using the Tristan family's sword technique. He never should have messed with this kid. The villain then admits that he fell into the trap of attacking the boy, but demands to know who he is. The truth is, the deadly charm has been activated, and now the villain is impressed by the boy's skills and has become interested in him. Our boy doesn't say anything and the man simply responds, I'm sure someone as cool and ruthless as you will want to kill me. So go ahead, finish me off. Dob just takes the chance to tell the guy, I'm not going to kill you, but tell everyone to stop attacking Elnor. What he wants to prevent now is her activating that gray demon power and losing control. If he can stop her from being attacked constantly, maybe that can be avoided. But the assassin asks, what happens if I come back later and attack again? Dodd walks off with full swag. If you try to kill her, you'll have to get through me first. The man asks, is that woman really that important? And Dodd replies, yes. Right at that moment, Deadly Charm had activated. Our boy didn't realize. The beautiful menace was right behind him and heard everything he said. Her favorability skyrocketed. He turns around completely confused. Man, her favorability just keeps rising. At least 15 notifications have popped up. Meanwhile, in another part of the academy, the headmistress is banging her head against her desk. Frustrated. Everything is a mess. She knows the chancellor is furious. But immediately locating this organization is impossible. She tells Elnor, you need to understand, this place is a disaster right now. Especially now that it's confirmed there's some kind of spy lurking around. The headmistress comments, you seem really determined to stay here considering that you barely arrived and they've already tried to kill you 3 times. And she needs to start being even more careful, because this incident was different. They sent a professional assassin this time, and things are only going to get worse. Besides that, she found it strange that everyone who survived this event received honors, except for God Campbell, who immediately disappeared once it was over. The headmistress has already noticed. He's actively trying not to attract attention, and she doesn't understand why. Elnor sighs. I don't understand either. She said that 3 times already, which makes the headmistress finally snap, quit saying that, and throws something at her. Let's all thank the headmistress, because by throwing that object, she made Elnor raise her arm and look gorgeous while doing it. Elnor apologizes. Sorry, I was a little distracted. It's just that there's someone I'm interested in. The headmistress is instantly confused. What the hell are you talking about? Elnor just smiles. You just said his name. The room falls completely silent. And then, the woman stares at her. You cannot be serious. You like that weird country bumpkin. She warns Elnor she should be careful. Because if Archduke Tristan found out about something like this, he would not be happy. Elnor waves it off. It's not like that. I don't have that kind of interest in him. The headmistress relaxes. Good. Just be careful. Normally, when it comes to men, you're more cautious. Elnor nods. You're right. I will have to test him. For now, I'll observe him very closely. At that moment, our boy receives his class test results. Unfortunately, it says his class hasn't been decided yet. They're still calculating his results, which is a terrible sign, because it means they're thinking way too much about him, and all he wanted was to be thrown into some random class and forgotten. What he does suspect, though, is that he might end up in the special class, where the heroic protagonists are. They're delaying his placement and, in a way, excluding him, which is also weird. Then, he completes his first mission, and his information updates. His new mission: resolve the incidents that will occur during the freshman reception. He knows. It's during this event that people's classes are determined. Obviously, there are the usual ones: archers, mages, priests, etc. But his focus is to exploit his strength as much as possible, and get a class related to that. On the other hand, both the final boss, Elnor, and Elia are involved in this event. He is absolutely sure that something he doesn't want is going to happen again. Then, he receives a reward for deepening his connection with Elnor. He can copy one of her abilities. But he's not stupid. He knows this isn't the right time to use something like that, because even though she's currently the strongest in the academy, she's going to grow even stronger. And only then would it be worth using his duplication ability to steal away more powerful talent. Night falls, and he sneaks out of the academy to visit an abandoned house. Of course, he's equipped with tons of stealth items, so he can't be detected. In the game, this place was perfect for farming treasures. He jumps the wall, enters the place, and heads toward an area full of stacked up items. There are countless objects here, but one is extremely important: a sensor burner. With 1,000 years of stored power, he grabs it. Got what I needed. But right at that moment, the entire ground starts shaking. The poor guy realizes this was way too easy, and now he's getting buried alive. Strangely enough, after the smoke clears, he's holding a girl in his arms. Her name is Yuria, and the moment he sees her, he immediately recognizes her. He knows that this crazy girl is the boss of the second chapter, known as the Cursed Sword Goddess. That item he pulled out really did belong to her, but he didn't expect her to be right there. She immediately gets out of his arms, and the system warns that his life is in danger. His EX rank strength activates, and she comes at him with a chain strike. He barely dodges. As always, a very dangerous, thick-thighed girl. Our boy is trying to dodge, but at the same time, she's throwing small swords at him. He knows that against a woman like this, it's life or death. With no chance of winning, he begs her to understand that this is a misunderstanding. He wasn't trying to do anything to her while she was sleeping. Each of her attacks makes his entire body shake, even with his talent activated. She swings her chain again, he jumps, barely escaping. But then, full of style, she spins like a breakdancer and throws a dagger straight at him. Our boy freezes. The blade gets right in front of him, and suddenly, the attack disappears. 3.5 steps, that's the maximum distance she can fight from. That's the curse and mechanism behind her abilities. The girl asks him very politely to take just 1 step forward. But he asks, "You're gonna kill me, aren't you?" She nods, yes. And she's impressed that this bastard already seems to know her talent. Our boy gets an idea. He knows she's isolated here. Not even food is delivered to this place. So he asks, "By any chance, do you want a high recovery biscuit?" She scoffs. "I'm not falling for such a stupid trick. It's not like I'm that hungry." But the moment he tosses the biscuit, she grabs it, because she was starving all night. Sometime later, she mutters, "I realize now, that was a mistake." Our boy is relieved. Looks like he won't be dying today. She asks why he's here. He knows he can't tell the truth, so he lies, saying he was sent here to feed her, that he received instructions to take care of her from someone else. She asks, "Is it someone you know?" He nods, yes. And strangely, since he knows everything about this world, he casually adds, "Don't worry, your sister is doing just fine in the Holy Empire. The Emperor won't bother with the two of you for a while, so you don't have to keep hiding like this." Yuria is from the Holy Empire, and she's hiding here at Elefanti Academy because of the Emperor of the land she fled from. The sword she wields is considered a cursed item, which is why she has the 3-step curse. She had to escape because of it. That's why our boy is trying to pass on information that her sister is safe, because even though she's been through a lot, she deserves at least a bit of peace. We then see a group of students at the top of a mountain. Someone points out, "That's the academy over there. That's the arcane constitution." A little blonde girl says, "We'll have to choose our faculties soon." Dodd knows. This is the part of the game where you get the most world-building information, but he can skip all of it since he already knows everything. A guy asks Ophelia, "What's that voided area over there?" On the horizon, a dome-covered city could be seen, and she explained that it was an extremely restricted area. Anyone who entered would be punished. Dodd knew that place was what remained of the war between heaven and hell, a place where God's messengers and the heroes had sealed away the demons. This happened hundreds of thousands of years ago, yet the energies of light and darkness continued to clash. With the obvious risk of darkness eventually prevailing, the Empire Alliance created this sacred triangle to keep watch over it. The triangle consists of numerous academies, one of them being Elfent. The red-haired guy then asked Ophelia if they could take a closer look. She said that as long as they stayed within Seraph's protective barrier, there was no danger. Dodd, on the other hand, thought this was the perfect chance for them to sneak away and cause some trouble. The angels who resided beyond the heavens and mountains had created this barrier alongside Seraphis. The students were now all standing around, staring at the barrier up close with dumbfounded expressions. Dodd then asked if he could eat a little away from everyone else because he was feeling uncomfortable. She understood. He was the boy suffering from all the unwanted attention and allowed it as long as he didn't go too far. The other guys didn't like that. They muttered that this hick bastard was getting full of himself just because he had gained a bit of attention. But our boy had already lit his incense using unicorn horn powder and a phoenix feather. Where the hell did he get that? Who knows? Maybe it was already inside. But with that, he had prepared the most powerful thurible, which was basically just a fancy incense burner. Magic started activating, and he prayed that he hadn't forgotten anything. At that moment, some silhouettes appeared, and he covered his eyes. He knew this was something ordinary people would never experience. A massive explosion of light erupted before him, and he heard voices discussing the allied forces. A man was telling a recruit, "Keep the ground even. Stop digging around." Then he saw them. Angels. They looked at each other. "Why is there a human here?" "Man, if this angel appears, I'm gonna be happy." They kept questioning why that kid was just standing there staring at them. The commander waved it off, telling the others to get back to work. And our boy, he had just opened a tiny portal and was observing everything. Then a horn blared and a car arrived, bringing in the sacred blocks. An infinite amount of them, so the construction wouldn't stop. The blonde angel yelled at another worker, "Quit eating cloud biscuits and get back to work." Meanwhile, our boy just watched as the bald angel kept shouting at everyone. I have no idea what's happening, but what I do know is that sacred blocks are being delivered and our other angel is just watching it all unfold. Dodd knew. The angels in this place were almost like a military force. They had a strict hierarchy, where those at the top obviously held the most authority. In the original story, you could only encounter angels after Chapter 2 and only after interacting with some of the high-ranking ones. And they were very clear about what they wanted, since it was basic and straightforward. Our boy stretched out his food, muttering an irakamasu. As he ate, he overheard some of the angels talking. "Why does he have so much food?" One angel suggested, "Maybe we should ask for a piece." But another immediately shot that down. "That's insane. We can't go down there just for food. We should keep moving the blocks." Dodd, on the other hand, smirked. "Are you sure? Working in construction is exhausting. You guys should take a break and enjoy some food." And strangely, the moment he said fat, a mission for an offering activated, and food appeared in the angel's hands. Everyone smiled. A 10-minute break wouldn't be so bad. They thanked him, saying, "You're a very considerate human." Dodd remembered. It was the same in the game. If you offered enough food to someone, it would multiply once it reached their realm and become enough for everyone. Sometime later, the angels were sitting there, muttering, "That was delicious. Totally worth it. The bald angel notices the thurible beside him and says, "Just state what you want already." Our protagonist is impressed that the guy got straight to the point and doesn't even seem interested in negotiating. He had prepared numerous techniques to convince these guys, so he finds it strange that it's this easy. The bald angel then says he's sure the boy must be wondering why he's being treated this way. He explains, the boy is well-informed and possesses an incredible ability, but it's severely underdeveloped. The angel knows he'll benefit from investing in the boy, and that's the only reason he's helping. Now it all makes sense to Dodd. Why this guy is interested in him. What he doesn't know is which ability the angel is referring to. Maybe it's the one about being loved by evil. The angel then says, the ability you possess is far more powerful than you realize. It will allow you to stand at the top of everything. Of course, the problem is surviving with all the attention he's attracting. Given this situation, Dodd knows he'll have to think of another route. He never expected the negotiation to be this easy, or that these guys would have such high expectations for him. Another angel comments, it's rare to see someone so calm and strategic when negotiating with an angel. You really do have potential. The bald angel shrugs. I'll just give you my blessing and send you on your way. Our boy still hasn't fully processed what just happened, but the guy simply leaves, saying Dodd should already be impressed that he was acknowledged by them. With that, the portal disappears, and Dodd is left feeling uneasy. Even the angels told him to be careful with his own talent. Now the C+ rank Divine Thurible was blessed with two abilities. Asceticism, which allows him to convert all other attributes into Constitution for 20 seconds, and Protective Shield, a C-rank ability that lets him create a sword, a barrier, obviously. The combination of his status boost and life-threatening situations, with this ability to convert everything into defense, will be extremely useful for what? Survival. The only problem is that these talents require a small amount of mana, which he doesn't have. For now, they'll have to find a temporary solution, which is why he's standing in front of a man who asks, what's your specialty? He seems to be alone in front of a shop, and the man informs him, you need to be in a pair first, to which Dodd replies, my partner will be here soon. The guy doesn't believe him. A loser like you. No way you've got a partner. But our boy knows she's already on her way. And right then, Elia shows up, looking like an absolute fool, as if she hadn't intentionally come here with him. Dodd casually waves at her, already planning to team up. At first, he didn't want to get involved with the protagonist, but he's changed his mind. Especially after what the angels said about him being in serious danger because of his talent. So he asks, are you still interested in getting to know me better? Just like she mentioned before. Poor Elia. She's a bit shaken, not sure how to respond. But then, she remembers everything. All the times he kept saying how much he liked Elnor, and she reaches a conclusion. This bastard is just trying to get close to her to make Elnor jealous. What a delusional fool. The scene shifts to the Academy dungeons. Someone asks Dodd, are you sure about this? He nods. Yeah, I know she wanted to be my friend too. So why is she acting like this now? Obviously, she's suspicious. Suddenly, he tells her to look in a certain direction, because 3 beasts were coming. A wolf lunges, but a single quick slash from her sword cuts it in half. He warns her, 2 more from above. And just like that, they advance through the dungeon, working as a perfect team. All he has to do is call out the direction, and she handles everything with ease, until she finally tells him to stop giving orders and start fighting too. But he completely ignores her and says there are 2 daggers coming at her from the left and right. At that exact moment, the attack happens, and she manages to block them. Then she warns about incoming arrows and a monster strike. Once again, she reacts in time and blocks them. So she tells him if he can predict everything this easily, he clearly needs to use his strength to help. The problem is, Dodd can't do anything unless his life is in danger. Since these are artificial monsters, they're not programmed to kill students, which means his talent doesn't detect any real danger. He realizes he really needs to increase his stats for situations like this. Suddenly, Elia rushes toward him. For a moment, he thinks she's about to cut him down. But instead, she slices off the head of a monster that was right behind him. He just stands there, watching her looking effortlessly cool. Dan, she's smooth. Out of nowhere, confetti bursts into the air. Someone announces, congratulations, you broke the record. She's surprised. She fought alone and still completed it faster than the other pairs. Dodd shrugs. Maybe we were just lucky. But the truth is, our boy obviously chose the shortest, sneakiest route. Elia is starting to get really annoyed with this bastard. A little witch had been watching them the whole time. Her name was Percy, and she was the magic instructor here. She comments, we'll have to improve these fake battles next year. That was way too easy. A nearby director nods. Got it. But something feels off. It's weird how much this boy knows about everything. Everyone assumes the Academy's focus is on Elia. But the green-haired man, as usual, is suspicious of Dodd. Percy finds it strange. Why did that boy catch your attention? Clearly, Elia was the one doing everything. But the man shakes his head. She alone never would have broken that record. Anyone with combat experience can see it. She was actively fighting. He was the key to all of it. It's obvious. He was giving perfect orders at perfect timing and making flawless decisions. Up until now, every one of his judgments has been spot on, Not only is he highly calculated, but it's like he's been through this place countless times before. He then turns to Percy. Let's make a bet. At that moment, someone contacts both of them, saying they take an interest in the pair. The man explains. He made a bet with Percy. He's sure they'll break this year's record. If they succeed, they can ask for anything they want from her. But if they don't, it's fine, because what they've already done is impressive enough. Obviously, Dodd agrees instantly, and Percy gets pissed at how confident this kid looks. Meanwhile, the glasses-wearing director tells someone, I know you're stressed, but you shouldn't be here all the time, because right now, Eleanor has collapsed on the floor after training. She mutters, I'm trying to remember something. She recalls some old movies her mother used to talk about when she was a child, about a demon living in the Tristan bloodline. That was what fermented the inhuman power they possessed. But of course, the price was that they would gradually lose their sanity. That's why most of the successful people in her family eventually go mad at the end of their lives. The director asks, why are you thinking about this? Eleanor simply responds, it's nothing. The woman sighs. I'll tell you something interesting. I just found out, right now Dodd Campbell is undergoing a test with the hero candidate. Man, the artist cooked with this Eleanor scene. She narrows her eyes. Who is this hero candidate? The woman replies, Elia Crixanax. Eleanor doesn't believe it. Those two? Together, she closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and mutters, I'm going there. Back in the dungeon, Elia is questioning Dodd. What's your plan? She knows he's skilled, but his confidence is getting ridiculous. Dodd knows the weak points of each of these monsters, how they function, but he can't reveal that yet, so he just smirks. I'm sure everything will go fine, because you're here with me. The girl turned a little red but muttered that she wasn't falling for that nonsense. Then the red-haired guy suggested, you can increase the difficulty to earn more points if you want. Dodd immediately responded, I want the highest difficulty possible. Percy was losing her mind. That's impossible, but he just shrugged. It's worth a try. Obviously, Elia was not happy about this. One of the guys beside them chimed in, now that you've started, you can't stop. Meanwhile, Percy took a sip of her tea. Fine, but you should know, at this difficulty, you'll be in real danger. Since the voice transmission was active, Elia heard everything, and she was starting to feel nervous. But the green-haired man reassured them, even if things get dangerous, all we need to do is rescue the students. Then he announced, the slaughter mode has been activated. Now prove your strength. Elia obviously is not very happy about this, but she just accepts it. Percy is eager to see them fail, and that friend over there is crying. I still don't know who that crazy guy is. However, things have changed for our dear protagonist as the creatures are now aggressive and can cause damage. The danger is detected. Since this boy is a complete mess, always on the brink of death, the system automatically puts him at full power. He prepares an attack with his sword, and a slash sweeps off the big pig's head. Actually, it looks more like a rhinoceros. Right away, the green-haired guy says he knew it. The boy was hiding his power. And Elia looks beautiful and troubled, wondering why Dodd always hides his strength like this. But now, our guy is fully focused, ignoring everyone and slaughtering the monsters. Percy, on the other hand, is wondering how this is even possible. Until now, he seemed like a complete weakling. However, the green-haired guy tells her that she needs to understand. The boy enjoys pretending to be weak. But he gets her reaction since he had the same one when he first saw this happen. And she can be sure that the stronger the monsters get, the stronger he will become too. Ilia is there, landing some impressive kicks. This girl is seriously powerful. And now our boy is in full Giga Chad mode in midair, wrecking everything. I wasn't going to mention that she's fighting again, since the artist gave her some extra attention. There she is, holding her ground, a truly reliable girl. Ma'am, but she's up against a giant ant. She calls out to our boy, who jumps into the air, shining like a star. He even uses a sword technique from the Tristans called Lavoop. A flurry of attacks strikes the giant ant, making it look like it's breaking apart. And with that, our dynamic duo, who could honestly make a great couple, manages to break the record. Just as he killed the giant ant, she was on its back, about to crush him. The boy realized he got distracted, but right then, the thing exploded. It was the green-haired guy who praised our hero, saying they're incredible for breaking a record like this. Finally, I learned the guy's name because Elia called him Professor Conrad. Conrad thanks her for her efforts, and just as Percy shows up, he immediately says that it looks like he won the bet. Sometime later, Elia is holding a piece of paper. Because of their performance, they can pick an item from the Vision's storage, and of course, they can ask Percy for any favor, thanks to the dumb bet. She's all happy, and our boy knows this isn't something just anyone who enters the school can get. At that moment, Elia calls out to him and asks how he always stays so calm. She's noticing that every time a difficult situation happens, he always acts as if he already knew. Well, yeah, that's kind of obvious, because the bastard really does know. Before he can answer, she reaches out her hand, saying that maybe now they can become closer friends. Our boy, however, doesn't seem very excited about that. Come on, man, get more hyped for the wafus. But even so, he lightly taps her hand, and you can see on the screen that her curiosity is already at level 5. She was almost reaching the trust level, standing firm. Then she runs off, saying she's excited to see tomorrow's Dodd. Someone next to our boy comments that they're not sure if she's friendly or just weird, and he agrees. This person was our dear one, drawn with great talent and attention. Thank you. And at that moment, she asks if he likes that freshman. Our boy gets all flustered, stuck in that awkward space of not knowing what to say as always. At least since the desperate survival skill wasn't activating, he felt somewhat safe. He just finds the question strange. After all, he is her boyfriend or something like that. And as always, beautifully drawn, my god, I never get tired of saying this. She tells him she won't repeat herself again. Alright then, he better just say whether he likes the freshman or not. At that moment, danger is detected. Now his life is on the line. Man, he really does need to say something. Hey guys, the artist is at it again. Damn you, you're really dragging this out, aren't you? There she is, looking stunning, waiting for an answer, while this fool doesn't know what to say. Being the dumb idiot that he is, he gathers his strength and says he was training with Elia, but he missed Elnor. She looks a little confused, saying that's kind of sudden. He has no idea if this will work, but there's no way he can beat her in a fight, so his only option is to appease her. Elnor smiles and asks if he means that he missed her the whole time. He just nods, and now she wants to know why. Oh boy, you're going to have to explain yourself better than that. Our girl looks a bit awkward, unsure of what to say, and she fixes her hair, saying it's fine, he can just forget about it. She's sure he's acting this way because of that day on the train, but she tells him not to forget the list of priorities. Just like us, Dodd is completely confused, having no idea what this crazy girl is talking about. Then she hands him a letter, saying she came all the way here just to give it to him. This fool is wondering if it's a love letter. I highly doubt it. And looking a bit shy, she says she was going to give it to him tomorrow, but decided to bring it now. Then she turns around looking gorgeous as ever, and tells him to only read it when he's alone. I doubt it's a love letter, probably a death threat. And there he is, holding it in his hands, saying he understands. Next scene, he's already saying he shouldn't have opened it. The expected, unexpected happened. She asked him to pretend to be a couple. I don't know what her intentions are, whether she wants to protect him or if there's something more, but I'm not sure she's actually that in love with our dear Dodd. For our boy though, that's not even the biggest problem. All he has to do is spend some time by her side at the welcome party. The problem is the penalty if he rejects the offer. Not only will it change how she acts towards him, but it will also probably affect that affection level she has, making it harder for him to gain new skills. Then someone knocks on the door. He opens it, sure that it's Elia, who immediately comments that he's getting smarter. Damn, what is this? The other one brought a letter too? This bastard. I want to trade lives with him. Without thinking, he blurts out another letter like this, which makes her ask what he means by another. Had he already received one before? He quickly says no, that he got confused, and asks what it is. She tells him to think of it as a surprise, something she decided to do after spending time with him. She has to run now because of some weird rules from the president, but she tells him to read it carefully. Before he can say anything, she's already jumping away, reminding him not to forget. Our boy already knows exactly what this is, and so do we. Looks like at this welcome party, all the girls want the boy. He opens the letter, hoping it's different. Maybe a dual invitation from Elia. The problem is that she mentioned it was a surprise. And obviously, it's also an invitation to get closer. The battle between the final boss and the story's protagonist started sooner than he expected. The issue is that something like this never happens in the main story, so why is he getting these weird choices? If he chooses Elnor, he'll be seen as a villain by the main character. But if he chooses Elia, he'll start being hated by Elnor, who might end up turning into a demon and killing everything too. There's the option to reject both, which might be safer, but that's also risky. This probably happened because they're still in the interested phase. But still, this is a problem. How is he going to get out of this? That's when he has a bold idea. Why not accept both? Looks like the scene has already shifted to the welcome party. Everyone is wondering where the Class C people are, and someone says they've arrived. In the middle of the extremely luxurious hall, there's our dear Elia. She comments that this place is so crowded it looks like a pigsty. She looks at our boy and thanks him for coming with her. Oh my god, what the hell is this dashi hairstyle? It looks awful. The two of them are walking side by side, and the sneaky bastard is actually using a clone ability that cost him 1,000 points. Obviously, it's just a simple walking clone, and guess what it does? It walks and talks. There's not much else it can do. He spent everything he had, but maybe it will work. The system comments that the boy is daring for trying to go on dates with both at the same time. To succeed, all he has to do is not get caught before the party ends. All he needs to avoid is anyone seeing him and his clone in the same place at the same time. As he's considering his options, suddenly, a bear in the nearby cage lets out a roar. The caravan passed through, ordering everyone to get out of the way. That sneaky dice knows these guys are planning to put on an event with that beast, which will eventually break free and cause chaos. All he has to do is take advantage of the situation to escape, remove the clone, and stay out of trouble. Besides, he bought a skill called Pheromone, or maybe not. Actually, that might just be the name of one of his clones. However, according to the system, he is no longer just a boy, which he has no idea what that means. Oh boy, smoke just started coming out of him. And right at that moment, Elmore appears, saying she finally found him. She mentions she smells something strange and asks if he used some kind of spray. He says no, explaining that he passed through some flowers, and the scent must have stuck to him. But damn, this girl is bold. She straight up says that whatever it is, it's driving her crazy. Now our boy is desperately trying to get rid of this damn pheromone smell before things get complicated. However, the system immediately notifies him that the pheromone effect has been applied to the target, Elmore. And now, she's struggling to resist getting interested in him. Suddenly, she turns to him and says it's strange that she never noticed before he's a lot more masculine than she imagined. The boy is internally combusting. He quickly starts walking away, saying they should hurry to the event since there are a lot of people there. All he's thinking about is keeping himself and the clone talking while he remains alone with Elmore. But the poor girl is there, breathing heavily, trying to calm herself down. He just hopes she doesn't do anything crazy. He asks if she wants to grab something to eat, and she says yes. Why not? Even if it means buying some wild boars on a stick. He figures this is the worst option since he's trying to make Elmore like him a little less. She's a woman who cares a lot about her appearance, so something greasy like that should be a total turnoff. However, when this girl wants something, nothing stops her. She excitedly declares that she loves those things. So much for his theory. Guess he's still figuring out her tastes. Trying to play it off and kill the friendly vibe, he pretends that the food tastes awful. But all she wants to know is why he's still eating it if he has better things to do. Now the boy is starting to be genuinely afraid of this woman and just wants to keep his distance. At the very least, he needs to maintain some space between Elnor and Elia, or things will get complicated. He stops at an accessory stall and she asks if he wants anything. He says no but offers to buy her something if she wants. At the same time, he realizes that he really shouldn't have said that. It's just going to increase her affection level and make things even messier. Oh, this guy is a reverse mastermind and somehow picks the worst possible gift, a loose uniform button, asking if she wants it. But once again, there's no stopping this girl. She's genuinely impressed that he was paying so much attention to her that he even noticed she had lost a button from her uniform. The poor guy just wants to disappear while she gives him that mischievous little smile. Sometime later at a table, she asks if he's already decided what he wants to study. He says yes, he's going to focus on theology. That's the study of God's nature, that kind of thing, you know. But Eleanor tells him he should reconsider. With his talent, it would be a waste not to become a knight. However, our boy simply replies that there's something he needs to learn in the theology department. He chose this path for a specific reason. Eleanor, towering over the table, demands to know what it is he wants to learn, and he just says that to protect the people he cares about, there are certain things he needs to acquire. Eleanor wants to know what exactly it is that he's trying so hard to protect. Oh man, our boy is low-key romantic. What he really wants to protect is his own life and prevent Eleanor from turning into a demon. Stickard abilities would be perfect for his survival and would also allow him to take care of her in the process. Smart move. So he tells her that since childhood, there has been someone he wants to protect. Besides, he obviously knows that later in the story, there's going to be an event called the Secret Society. The boss of that chapter is only weak against holy magic, which is why he needs to prepare. Suddenly, the gorgeous Eleanor asks if that's the real reason he's getting so involved with her, because she knows all too well about the Tristan family curse, just like he does. Our boy confirms that he is, in fact, talking about the curse that drives every member of her family insane, and he's certain that the only way to prevent it is through mental training. Eleanor's expression turns serious as she asks if he knows the solution. He cuts her off and says he knows about the blessing of the angels. It's a type of miracle where two archangels must bestow their blessing on the same person. Eleanor acknowledges that it exists, but it's so difficult to achieve that even with all the power the Tristans hold, they've never been able to obtain it. That's why they're so feared. Once again, she demands to know his intentions. Why does he keep getting closer to her knowing all of this? This boy is basically confessing at this point. I thought he wanted to keep his distance. But he tells her that the thing he wants to protect is her. Looking both beautiful and concerned, she asks why. And our boy simply says that if he doesn't protect her, she's going to die. That's the truth, and he has no other reason beyond that. She looks a little flustered, fixing her hair, and says that from the very beginning, she knew he was a weird guy. Our boy just responds that he's heard that about himself countless times. With that, he's told her the whole truth. Now he just hopes it's enough to satisfy her strange curiosity. The scene then shifts to another part of the party, with Elia saying that this boy is weird. The poor girl is walking alongside the clone, wondering why he's talking so little today. She also asks how they even ended up in this basement. Meanwhile, she looks back, thinking that she needs to get closer to this guy to learn more about the Tristan family. The problem is, she has no idea how to handle a man like him. In general, the truth is, she's not very good at dealing with men, and it's making her go a little crazy. She doesn't know how to act. On top of that, she starts wondering why this place is full of caged monsters. She's practically having a monologue here since the clone isn't saying much. She comments that they're probably Academy experiment creatures, but it's irresponsible of the professors to leave so many of them here with students around. She turns to the side and wonders why there are even monsters this big in a place like this. She approaches one of the cages and realizes that these beasts aren't even properly locked up. That's when she notices a device beeping right next to the creature. Before she can react, the place explodes. Luckily, Chad Clone saves her. This bastard is flirting with one girl at a table while rescuing another from an explosion. Obviously, both our favorite couple and everyone in the hall are in shock. And my god, our boy's back is burnt to a crisp, but he saved the girl, and now his favorability is skyrocketing. Barely holding himself together, he just mutters that this is his job. She's startled as he collapses beside her. Before she can even think about helping him, the monster is already loose. And of course, they're all high-level creatures. Ilya thanks him for protecting her and says it's now her turn to return the favor. Right then, the system activates a mission. He has to save as many people as possible. Without hesitation, he takes off running, leaving Elnor behind, telling her he has things to take care of and that she should be careful. She asks where he's going, but he just shouts back that he's going to protect the students. Meanwhile, Ilya is exhausted, barely able to stand. Our boy dispels the clone and arrives in style, declaring that they'll have to deal with this. But then he notices that she's already on the ground, everything around her wrecked. At least she's happy to see he's alive. And at that moment, her status shifts from curious to interested. The main scenario had now been altered. However, she reveals that one of the creatures has escaped, and of course, it's the biggest one. She warns that it's probably somewhere on the first floor, and they need to stop it before more people die. Our protagonist knows that if he doesn't handle this, he'll receive a major penalty. Right now, the other students are panicking. Face to face with the giant beast, its eyes glowing red. One student raises a barrier but knows it won't hold and desperately calls for a professor. With the monster's attack, the entire thing is already cracking. Elnor announces that neither the Chancellor nor Professor Conrad are here. And on top of that, she can't use the angel's blessing. She orders the priest to raise a barrier, but he says it's impossible. A sacred barrier isn't something just anyone can create so easily. Besides, all they have to do is wait a little longer. Some knights will arrive soon. If a few students die in the meantime, so be it. If she wants to use the Tristan family's strength, though, he knows they're not good people. Man, why criticize my poor Elnor like that? At least our boy arrives full swag mode, declaring that he'll handle it. Everyone is wondering who this crazy guy running toward the beast is. Elnor is stunned by his courage. He's not hesitating at all. At that moment, he activates two of the abilities he received from the angel, both asceticism and holy shield. At the same time, danger is detected and he's thrown into a life or death situation. All his stats are immediately boosted to rank X. The barrier guy asks what the hell he's doing. Our boy says he's buying time, but they need to get the other students out. With asceticism active, all his stats convert into defense. The poor guy won't be dealing any damage, but he raises a holy barrier just in time to block the monster's strike. The professors around immediately recognize it as a sacred blessing, and the beast keeps hammering away while our boy stands firm in full defense mode. Elnor is just standing there frozen, unable to act, probably falling for him even more. Strangely, some guy in the back is rambling that even real priests need years of training to use something like this. Bro, he's literally using it right now. Maybe take some notes. And then weirdly enough, Elnor says that after everything that's happened with this guy, she's not even surprised anymore. Watching him get attacked, she realizes he has already surpassed her expectations so many times. Now the clueless priest finally notices that our boy didn't just raise any barrier. He put up one strong enough to hold back that beast. Suddenly, someone tells the guy to shut up. It's Ilya, who smacks him on the back of the head, saying he took too long to figure it out. Elnor asks where she's been, and Ilya explains that she was dealing with the monsters in the basement. Unfortunately, she let this one escape because it was too strong. But now, she wants to know how the hell Dodd is using a blessing like that. As far as she knows, activating something like this requires 10 years of training to become a combat priest. This whole takes 10 years of training thing catches Elnor's attention, and she remembers that our boy had said he had something important to learn in the theology department. The sweet words of the boy who said that if he didn't protect her, she would die. You can tell she's getting more attached because now her eyes are rounder, not as sharp and intense as before. Ilya comments that even if he's using a stored blessing, there's a limit to how much control he can exert over it. And she mentions that Elnor is really lucky. Our lady wants to know what this crazy girl is talking about, and out of nowhere, the artist throws in a beautiful panel. Ilya explains that she's talking about the fact that Dodd is doing all of this for her. Just looking at the boy's pained expression and the way he threw himself into the fight on purpose against that creature, everything he's done so far seems to be for that reason. Elnor thinks that she's had this feeling from the very beginning. She sees herself standing alone in the darkness, arms crossed, when suddenly, a light approaches. I don't know what that light is supposed to be, but I do know she looks gorgeous as she wipes off her sword, thinking that this boy really is different. The beast keeps pounding at the barrier, and these professors, these useless bystanders, do absolutely nothing. Until finally, Elnor steps in and delivers a solid strike to the monster's head. Not to praise myself, but damn, she's standing there crying in the rain. Poor girl. But, well, she still looks stunning. And in the fight, she lands a clean hit on the back of the creature's head, sending a burst of sparks flying. Man, the impact sends the beast crashing straight into the wall. Dodd looks completely dumbfounded, and right away, the monster gets back up and lunges at Elnor again. Watching her prepare, he knows this is the true sword technique of the Tristans. The girl unleashes a flurry of thrusts so fast it looks like a machine gun firing straight into the beast's chest. Still looking elegant and composed, she keeps the relentless assault going while the monster writhes in agony. until finally her sword nears its neck and she delivers a tramontana. The monster is flung away once again. There's no way it's still alive this time. Our boy notices that the power she wields is completely different from the one he copied. Something else is off. She wasn't even supposed to be involved in this event. The original story didn't unfold like this. With that, the official mission is completed, and since no one died, it was a perfect success. The system even notifies him that knights will arrive in 30 seconds. The truth is, all the professors who enjoy experimenting with live monsters are also supporters of the Tristans. And the fact that Eleanor got involved makes it clear that, in a way, her family is responsible for this. Normally, she's not someone who gets involved in politics, so why did she decide to step in now? Meanwhile, the students are all running away in panic, fire, and chaos everywhere, while the stunning Eleanor just stands there staring at him. Hey, you good? How are you doing? She lets out a deep sigh and says, finally, it's over. But then from within the flames, the grotesquely deformed monster rises again. Dodge shouts at her to watch her back, and as she turns, our boy teleports right in to shield her. Damn, the beast is barely more than a skeleton now, but it still manages to grab him. Looks like the kid was already exhausted after blocking that attack, his eyes shut. Sometime later, he wakes up in bed, immediately asking about the monsters. A woman with a monocle tells him to calm down. The creature was killed and Eleanor is fine. That woman is Chancellor Adelant. She closes her book and asks if he's surprised that she came to visit him. Then she explains that she was just waiting for the perfect moment since she hadn't had the opportunity to meet him properly after the freshman duel. Our protagonist knows that this woman is an immortal who has lived for thousands of years. So what is she doing here? He's already nervous that she might bring up the angel's blessing, but she tells him she's here to deliver some bad news, and some even worse news. He asks for the bad news first, saving the worst for later. She then tells him that he's getting more attention than any other student she's ever seen. It seems like every major incident always has him right in the middle of it, and that's why, with her experience, she knows things are only going to get worse for him. The other news is that she now wants to know how much he understands about the future of the demon. It seems like our boy doesn't react much, and she just remarks how interesting it is that he shows no emotion when she brings it up. Dodd then says that he's not going to reveal how much he knows until he understands what her intentions are. She asks what he's talking about, and he brings up the fact that he still hasn't been placed into any class. But she just steps closer, saying she knows he must be frustrated with the situation. However, thanks to all the chaos he's been causing, she's been forced to manage the results carefully. He should know that things are pretty unstable in society right now. The three forces that control everything aren't as calm as they used to be, and all sides are doing whatever they can to recruit powerful individuals. Dodd comments that he's aware of the competition happening between the three factions. That would be the three forces in that whole triangle setup, the academy surrounding that thing in the middle, built for the whole war between heaven and hell. And obviously, these three factions are clashing because each one wants to be the strongest. Adelant confirms that he's right, the triangle is unstable. Even though some might say they are peaceful neighbors at the moment, beneath that facade of peace, there's an incredibly ruthless competition to determine who will rise to the top. Of course, most students aren't interested in or even aware of any of this. But this very competition is what keeps causing all these incidents and destructions across the three territories. Dodd remarks that he's certain all the chaos that's happened so far must have drawn even more attention. If they haven't done anything, it means someone is blocking the information from leaving this place. Adeline is impressed that he already knows all of this. And our boy understands. She's afraid someone might try to kidnap him and use him in one of these other empires. He asks if that's her concern, and she confirms it. After all, if he gets captured, it's the end of this world. Strangely, he suddenly sees a vision, an illusion of everything being destroyed. She then holds up a sheet of paper, asking if he recognizes the seal on it. Dodd knows this one. It's the seal of the Purifiers. Adeline is even more shocked. This guy already knows everything. The Purifiers are a secretive organization that worships demons and operates from the shadows. Their only goal is to bring these demons back from hell and destroy the world. Both the attempt to assassinate Eleanor and the chaos caused at the academy where they're doing. And right now, they seem to be actively trying to eliminate the Tristan family. And of course, there's no guarantee they won't try again. Dodd wants to know why she's telling him all this. But Adeline simply replies that, unfortunately, she can't explain that. However, she hands him something. An interdimensional key, an extremely broken item that can open doors between worlds. She merely states that, judging by his expression, he must already know what it's for. She promises to monitor his progress closely. If she likes what he brings her, she might even give him more gifts. However, she warns that obviously, this conversation must remain secret. And finally, before leaving, she asks about his relationship with the warrior candidate and the lady of the Tristan family. Our boy freezes for a second. How the hell does this woman know everything? But he just says they're doing fine. Adeline smiles and tells him to keep it that way. Now he's worried. Why is that important? And once again, she tells him that if things don't stay the same, the world will end. Our boy wonders why the world is destined to end no matter what. But Adeline just tells him that it's his fault for being involved in all of this. She can't say why, but the final plan relies on those three for it to succeed. A while later, she leaves and he just stares at the dimensional key, thinking about whether he should accept the end of the world. In theory, it should be impossible for a player to receive this key so early in the game. Something's off. That's when Conrad appears, saying he finally found him. He's been eager to have a conversation. Our boy quickly hides the key and asks why. The professor explains that even though he hasn't been placed into a specific class, he still has to attend lessons. He pulls out a letter and tells him that inside are his assigned duties starting tomorrow. The moment he glances at the names, his expression changes. Obviously, he'll be close to Elnor, and also near our dear Elia. The only thing on his mind is that the end of the world is coming. Sometime later in a training hall, someone says that's why the sword is considered the best weapon for most situations. The professor is going on and on about sword theory until someone interrupts him. It's Elnor, asking if he's not focusing too much on theory. She doesn't think this kind of information is actually useful in battle. Obviously, the professor just stands there, dumbfounded, completely shut down by his own student. The poor guy drew a sword in the air and just stood there like a fool. And the students all start saying that nowadays you could just take an arrow to the head or get hit by a magic explosion and die like an idiot. Until Elia chimes in, saying that she still thinks the professor is right. As long as the swordsman is skilled, they can dodge magic or block an arrow strike. Elnor disagrees, saying that if the terrain disadvantage is too great, the swordsman has no chance. The two of them start arguing while our boy is caught in the middle, terrified of where this is going. And just like that, they're already headbutting each other. Elia tells her not to interfere with the professor's lesson, and Eleanor fires back, saying that as student council president, she has to make sure students receive proper information. They keep bickering about theory versus practice while our boy is just sitting there, wondering if they could just continue the lesson. Now it's clear, this boy is smack in the middle of both of them. And the worst part, because of that, everyone in the class is staring at him. But that's inevitable, considering he's seated between the future warrior and the student council president. At this moment, Elnor's affection level had advanced to level 1, allowing him to claim a reward. Now his proficiency with Tristan's sword techniques had increased to 58%. He also learned a deep breathing technique from the Demon Slayer, which boosts his body's endurance. He finds it interesting since it's perfect for combat, while Elia is just watching him intently. Or maybe not him, she's staring at Elnor, who's acting all nonchalant. As the two continue bickering, our boy is just thinking. Now it makes sense why this woman becomes so powerful when she turns into a demon. Besides, Elia had just advanced from Curiosity level 5 to Interest level 1, allowing him to claim another reward. He receives the ability Rule of Evil. This activates when he influences good-natured individuals, and those individuals are then forced to accept one request from him. The system also warns that you should keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. A higher level of closeness with good people gave even better rewards since it was more difficult. And if you managed to turn good people into bad ones, the rewards were even greater. Our boy is confused. Why does the system seem to want him to turn everyone into bad people? Sometime later, deep in the forest, it was time for survival training. Cameron explains that the test is simple. They have to enter the forest and bring back something they think he will like. For that, they have a maximum of 10 minutes. Someone asks how they'll earn points for this, but Conrad simply tells them that's for them to decide. The class president will help him judge the items and he wishes them good luck. Obviously, everyone thinks this is way too vague, while Elia is fuming about having to be judged by her. Staring at his system, our boy is wondering how exactly he's supposed to turn good people bad. That's when Elia, looking as stunning as ever, asks if Dodd wants to work with her today. He tells her she should focus on her own friends, but she insists that he is a friend. But what our boy is really thinking is that this crazy girl needs to stick with the protagonist group, the ones who are supposed to defeat the future demon. Those very protagonists are just staring at him. Elia invites him to join the group, but he declines. He knows he'll just end up as another nobody in their ranks. She's looking all sweet, wanting to know what's wrong, and he just says that it's nothing. They're just not that close. That completely catches her off guard, and she looks a little shaken. Turning away, she says that's a shame, but okay. Even the nun overhears it and looks devastated. Our boy is afraid he might have been too harsh, but he can't afford to get too close to her. That's when someone approaches, calling out to Dodd Campbell. A blonde guy with his hand on his chin wants to know what his relationship is with the hero candidate. Our boy knows this guy. It's Talion Armand, the second most skilled fighter, right after Elia. And as always, with a clueless expression, he replies that they only just met, nothing more. But Talion immediately responds that someone as talented as Elia shouldn't have any association with him. At that moment, Rule of Evil activates. The system notifies him that a good individual has been enraged because of his influence. Talion keeps bringing up the duel results, calling Dodd weird. But our boy is actually pleased. He's finally starting to understand how turning good people bad works. Talion keeps pressing him, demanding that he admit the duel was a fraud. And knowing that this guy will become a mid-boss in the future, our protagonist is certain that he's the perfect target for this ability. So he steps closer and tells him that the duel wasn't fake. But apparently, Talion just can't accept the result. Probably seeing his goal crushed in a single attack made him realize the gap between them. He says all of this, and Elia, who was nearby, hears everything. Clearly irritated, Talion grits his teeth and proposes a bet. They should see who gets a better score on today's test. Dodd thinks to himself, this is perfect. Meanwhile, someone is calling for Elnor. It's Conrad, reminding her that he asked for her help with grading the test, but she doesn't seem to be taking it seriously. That's because Dodd Campbell hasn't even completed the test yet, but he already has the highest score. She simply responds that it's because the boy deserves it. Then she says that if he doesn't trust her judgment, she'll just have to stick by him closely to make sure he really is deserving. But Conrad places a hand on her shoulder, warning her that he's already noticed. She always wants to be near him. Eleanor quickly denies it, saying that's not the case. The only thing she doesn't want is for him to be alone with Elia. She asks Conrad for permission to follow Dodd, but he warns her that if she doesn't take this seriously, she'll be removed from the event. Meanwhile, the priestess is clutching her rosary, thinking that today Elia is acting differently. In a breathtaking display, Elia is kicking monsters left and right. The red-haired axe wielder asks where they can find stronger creatures. The blonde guy suggests they should use this opportunity to collect some gems instead. They don't want to get a bad score. And the mage agrees, saying that for now, that's the best course of action. But suddenly, a strange purple circle starts forming in the middle of Elia's chest. Her expression begins to change as she slaughters the monsters. The priestess seems to be able to perceive emotions. Even though it doesn't seem like it, she knows at that moment Elia is feeling angry. So she walks over to her friend and asks how she's been feeling lately. Elia turns to her with a forced smile, saying she's fine. Nothing's wrong. The priestess tries to insist, saying that if anything is bothering her, she should just say so. But Elia turns away, telling her to forget about it. She already said everything's fine. Still, the priestess persists, saying that if something's wrong, she should just talk. She knows something is bothering her. Elia sighs, sits down under a tree, takes a deep breath, and admits, looks like it's obvious. I guess you really can't lie to Trisha. Elia's friend sits down and comments that it seems like she's upset that Dodd Campbell keeps trying to keep his distance, even though she just wants to be his friend. Elia admits that's the case and finds it strange because she and Dodd have been through so much together recently. Even so, he still seems to want to keep a barrier between them. Trisha comments that maybe those aren't his true intentions. Elia immediately wants to know what she means. Trisha explains that Dodd comes from a small, unknown place. Seeing him as someone connected to a hero candidate might cause a lot of people to judge him. Elia asks if she's suggesting that everything Dodd is doing is because he wants what's best for her. Her friend says yes, she's sure that he's only keeping his distance to improve his reputation and earn the right to stand by her side. She's certain that he sees her as a great friend. Our boy really can't lose a woman. Even when he does, people make sure to hand her back. At that moment, the lucky bastard is sprinting through the forest. The problem is that the talent he stole earlier is already reaching its limit and his stamina is running out. The system tells him that he's influencing someone and earning even more points. That's because Talion is desperately chasing him. And now our boy has received another command because of the sheer hatred he's provoking. The guy even shouts that he's going to kill him and put him on a skewer. Dodd nearly takes a spear to the back as Talion unleashes a flurry of thrusts, yelling at him to stop running like a coward and fight like a real man. Dodd just asks the guy to hold on for a second. The moment Talion pauses, he asks why they don't just split the rewards 50-50. But the second Talion screams in rage, our boy blows up a tree and dashes away. However, Talion has the blood of a warrior. He readies his spear and hurls it straight at our protagonist. But midway through, a sword intercepts it, cutting the spear clean in half. Both of them freeze in shock as Elia arrives, exuding pure swagger. She immediately orders Talion to get his hands off her friend. Now the protagonist's luck has run out. She repeats herself and Talion, so confused, asks what's going on with Elia. This is the first time they've seen each other since the day the monster escaped. But as she advances, placing her sword against his neck, she corrects him. This is the first time they've seen each other since the day he lost her. Dodd is just wondering where the hell this crazy girl came from and why she's so fired up. The clueless Talion, still smirking, says that he really did miss her. It's good to see her again. But Elia only wants to know why he was attacking Dodd. The fool tries to lie, but she just sweeps his legs, sending him crashing to the ground like a sack of trash. Then she puts the sword back to his throat, saying she doesn't want to hear any excuses. Talion, still confused, demands to know why she's defending him when she's so skilled. But the girl simply replies that he has no right to interfere with the people she chooses to associate with. Talion sneers, saying he doesn't like people who think they're better than others. A bit ironic, isn't it, you hypocrite? Elia responds that she's certain Dodd would never act that way. Our boy is standing there, completely lost. Why is she so determined to protect him? And then Elia warns that if he keeps provoking Dodd, his life might be in danger. Talion realizes that if he had taken that punch earlier, he would have definitely died. So seeing that Dodd wasn't a fraud after all, he falls to his knees and apologizes, swearing that he won't approach him again without permission. Elia sheathes her sword and says they can get along just fine. She walks off, leaving our protagonist still trying to process what the hell just happened. He can't quite figure out why she reacted that way, but maybe they're still friends after all. But enough of all this, he needed to go get his score. As he's heading back, he runs into Trisha, who tells him that they've met before. He comments that she's one of Ilia's friends and says he remembers her. The girl says she has something to ask him and he already knows this means trouble. Looking a bit awkward, stumbling over her words, she tries to say something. But our boy just waves her off, saying he has to get his score first. However, Trisha is finding Ilia's behavior strange. Normally, she would have tried to talk things out with Talion, but this time she drew her sword to settle it immediately. At that moment, Trisha realizes Dodd is a problem, and our dear protagonist has a problem. When he arrives to talk to Conrad, a huge fight had already broken out. Apparently, the professor had to work really hard to keep the student council president from coming after our boy. She insisted she would do it no matter what, so Conrad told her she could if she defeated him first. And that's how she ended up on the ground looking exhausted. He tells her to get up already, commenting that she's been improving a lot. At this rate, she'll surpass him soon. Dodd, completely uninterested, just says he's here to get his score and leave. Conrad, having almost forgotten about the test, asks what he brought. Our boy apologizes for taking so long but says he found the best possible ingredients. He reveals a bag full of rare gems and the professor compliments him, saying he placed first. Percy would definitely love all of this. Now that he had finished his mission, he figured he should go talk to Elmore, since she was getting angry. But before he could, Trisha appeared, asking if he was done. The professor leaves and Trisha suddenly yells at him, telling him to take care of Ilia, but at the same time, not to get too close. Because apparently, every time Ilia is around a guy, she starts acting strangely. Obviously, that didn't make any sense at all, so he just responds, all right. Waving goodbye, he tells her not to worry, he'll do his best. Trisha stays behind, thinking that he better really act that way if he wants to get out of this in one piece. She heals Elmore while pondering something she already knows well. Ilia might seem calm, but it's best not to push her past the line. Sometime later at the magic department, Percy asks if he's finally planning to use the favor he received. He says yes. He's here to ask something of the goddess of magic. Percy just tells him to quit bothering her and warns that she can't do anything too complicated these days. He replies that it's not like she's the only one who will have to work to make this happen. But she fires back, saying that no one would have to do anything if he just didn't use that cursed favor. Our boy notices that everyone in the room is staring at him, but unfortunately, he needs to prepare for the fight ahead. She sighs, saying that because of the promise, she'll do it anyway. So what does he want? He gulps. One of the rewards he received from Ilia, worth 500 points, was an evil seed that could be exchanged for special abilities in the shop. Right now, he has a negative mark on Ilia, which means he can use Rule of Evil, forcing her to do whatever he wants. The same goes for Talion, since he has one too. These abilities, along with everything he's been collecting, would be perfect to help in the upcoming fight. The problem is that right now, he's still too weak to overcome the challenge ahead. But he knows one way to fix that. So he says he needs a cannon strong enough to blow up the entire academy. Obviously, Percy just asks if he's lost his mind. He repeats himself and she just stares at him like he's insane. She says that building something like that isn't actually that difficult. The problem is, how exactly does he plan to use it? But he cuts her off, saying that the contract states she has to grant any wish considered ordinary. A cannon is not something unusual, so she has to make it. Percy retorts that creating a weapon that can destroy the entire academy is anything but ordinary. But our boy insists he's not going to use it to hurt anyone. There's just something that needs to be handled before it gets out of control. Obviously, she responds that this is even more concerning. But she sighs and agrees, saying she trusts that he has his reasons. Since he's been helping out with the monster situation, she'll show some faith in him and build the cannon he's asking for. Then, almost to herself, she mutters that she still can't believe the Chancellor is putting so much trust in this guy. A guy who's basically already formed a harem. She's even starting to think he's actually going to save the world. He asks what the hell she means by harem, and she freezes, realizing she said it instead of thinking it. She stands there looking awkward and flustered. While he tells her to calm down, he has one more request. She asks what it is, and that's when he remembers. He can choose one item from the Vision's storage. That was the reward for breaking the record. Sometime later, walking through the corridor. Now that he has permission for the cannon, he needs the exact materials. Thanks to the interdimensional card, that might not be too difficult. Suddenly, a man holding a cane calls out to him. He asks what it is. Wait a minute. That guy, doesn't he look exactly like the one from that bloodstained photo? Yeah, this bastard is definitely the next villain. The man smiles, saying he never imagined he'd run into him here. What a coincidence. He introduces himself as Galder Riverback. He operates a charity center known as the House of Purification. Dodd, however, finds this to be a very unfunny joke, because he knows it's just a front for money laundering. This bastard is the boss of this chapter, known as the leader of Blazing Fire. The guy comments that he's heard quite a bit about Dodd. The person who has been slaying monsters always seems to be close to Elmore. That's not something an ordinary person with normal abilities could do. A truly impressive young man. He hands Dodd a card, saying that whenever he meets an extraordinary student like this, he always looks forward to seeing what their future holds. He'd love to have dinner with the boy and asks if he's free. Hell no, old man. Plenty of women are already lining up to offer him dinner. But our boy is ruthless. He just says that this conversation is already more than enough. Once again, Dodd realizes that the original story is changing. This guy was supposed to approach Ilya and her brother. So why is he trying to get close to him? Has the system recognized him as the protagonist? That wouldn't make any sense, considering how the story of this world is supposed to go. So he just tells the guy he's joking. He'll think about the dinner. With that, the man leaves, saying that in 3 days they'll meet at the Twilight Eye. Dodd realizes that he has no choice now, but this is still better than letting this guy get close to Ilya. The Twilight Eye is an extremely luxurious restaurant near the academy. The card Galder handed him glows like crazy. He has no choice but to go. After all, this is a main story event. And as always, since the beginning, it's just yes or no. And when it comes to the main story, the answer is always yes. Because if he deviates from the main story, he dies. He starts thinking about everyone he's met so far, and the situations he's already been through, trying to find the best way out and figure out how to handle this. After analyzing everything, he knows that defeating the Purifier might not be impossible. What he doesn't understand is why he's the one playing Ilya's role. He decides to forget about all of that for now and just focus on what needs to be done at this moment. With that, he knocks on someone's door. He asks if she's there. She who? Elmore in her room. For the first time, this troublemaker isn't wearing her uniform. She asks what Dodd is doing there, and he quickly reassures her. She doesn't even need to come out. He just has something to discuss. She tells him to go ahead, and our boy, looking all awkward, clears his throat and hesitantly asks, would she be free in 3 days to have dinner with him? While she's thinking about it, a glasses-wearing girl behind her starts nagging about returning her books. She keeps borrowing them, but they just gather dust. The girl keeps complaining until Elmore finally tells her to be quiet. Right after Dodd asks, Elmore wants to know, would it be just the two of them? He says yes. Lying bastard. She asks where, and obviously he invites her to the Twilight Eye. Immediately, the director comments that that's a romantic dinner spot, and Elmore just says that she already knows. Now she wants to know why he's inviting her. He tells her he'll explain when they meet. And just like that, she's all flustered and looking adorable. The next chapter begins in a flower field with someone calling for Ilya. The person wants to know what she's doing there, but with a teary voice, she tells them not to talk to her. Whoever it is, they say they'll apologize for messing with her like that. But she turns around and snaps. That's a lie. What kind of joke is it to push someone off a mountain? He apologizes, saying it was an accident, but she tells him he really needs to stop hitting his little sister like that. Then he hands her a small package, saying all he wants is for her to grow strong and powerful enough to protect herself. She takes the bread and asks if he stole it, but he quickly says, of course not. He just bought the leftovers because they were cheaper. Then he mentions that thanks to the Baron, he might be promoted to Knight Apprentice. She asks what that means, and he explains that he'll be sent to the battlefield. There he'll gain real-world experience and who knows, maybe even earn the title of Guardian. He scoffs, telling her to stop dreaming about something like that. Someone who hits his little sister could never become a Guardian. He replies that life is full of mysteries and you never really know. But then she asks the obvious question, doesn't he think he's going to die if he goes to the battlefield? He says that will only happen if he's unlucky. He's very skilled, so he thinks it's impossible. Angry, she snaps that she hopes he gets unlucky and dies since all he ever does is hit his little sister. Not to mention, he never listens to their parents and only cares about swinging that sword around. He just laughs and tells her to remember, when he becomes a Guardian, he'll always be there to protect her. Back in the present, she wakes up to someone knocking on her door. When she opens it, it's our boy standing there apologizing. He explains that since he's from the countryside, he's not really used to how things work around here. That whole thing about them not being friends was a lie, and he wants to apologize. He even bought some cookies from the kitchen and brought them for her, since they're really good. She just snatches them from his hands and tells him to stop apologizing, because it's weird, especially when they're already friends. Then, turning away, she says she's going to sleep. But before she leaves, he asks for a little favor. He wants her to go somewhere with him. It's urgent. She's now wondering if this guy is crazy. Meanwhile, Elmore is sitting at her desk, signing some documents. Stunning as always. It looks like they're reviewing material costs and club funding. The glasses girl comments that the only thing left is checking on the recently transferred students. It seems like one of the incoming students belonged to the tribal alliance but lost her position. She's the daughter of one of that place's leaders, which basically means she and her people are exiles now. Her name is Lulu Garuda, and judging by the devastating me strike, yeah, it's that girl with the thigh tattoo. Man, I'd be scared. Eleanor simply responds that she might know her. Also, next semester, an actual saint from the Holy Empire is arriving. Eleanor asks if the girl is coming alone, and her friend replies that of course not. She'll definitely be bringing some companions. At that, our gorgeous student council president starts thinking, it's odd for a saint and the daughter of an ex-tribal leader to be arriving at the same time, so close to each other. She slams the desk, convinced that someone is behind this. Her friend just says that this place is always a mess, and Eleanor sighs, admitting that she sometimes forgets. She apologizes, saying she's just been a little stressed lately, but she'll calm down soon. Under the moonlight, our boy is lying down, commenting that he had no idea the school had an official observation hour. The night sky is beautiful. Ilya is right next to him, asking if they really have to do this right now. The fool just tells her to wait. It's about to happen. Wait, are they sitting on top of a catapult? Are they actually about to get launched? Even though this place is usually restricted to high-level users, he has the special pass from the Chancellor. Then he says, "Here we go," and they really get launched. He tells her to stay focused and keep her eyes open. With that, they slam into a portal in the sky as he activates the interdimensional card. When he told her to keep her eyes open, she suddenly remembered her brother, who used to say something similar. Poor our boy, he did warn her that this might be a little dangerous. They then vanish with a like on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers, activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.